What actually controversial opinion do you have? Alright y'all, time for yet another one of these threads. Except this time we need some actual controversial topics. If you come here and up for a downvote just because you agree or disagree with someone, then this thread is not for you. If you get offended or up in arms over a comment, then this thread is not for you. And if you have a controversial opinion that is actually popular, then you might as well not post at all. None of this whole "I think marijuana should be legal but no one else does" DA bullshit either. Think that women are the inferior sex? Post it. Think that people ought to be able to marry sheep? Post it. Think that Carl Saganal deGrasse Tyson Genghis Khan Jennifer Lawrence shouldn't have been born? Go for it. Remember, actual controversy. So no sorting by top either. I believe two consenting adults should have the legal right to challenge each other to a duel if they are so inclined, with no legal consequences for the winner. In Denmark, we have a paragraph in our criminal law commonly known as the fight paragraph. In short, if both parties don't sustain any major injuries and the fight was fair, no one is convicted of it. For ref. Sturfel 248. So Denmark has duels to the mild sporting injury? The only problem with this is that it can be abused really easily in order to effectively murder someone. Let me kill you or I'll kill you. I think all marriages as they are now should be changed to be civil unions. Then, if you want to be married, you can find a church or other entity that will marry you, but in the eyes of the government, the only thing that would matter are the civil unions which are open to anyone. Keep marriage and the government separate. Bam! Marriage debate over. Edit, for those saying this isn't controversial, see the comment below where I'm so eloquently called a bigoted gargle shit. I would go as far to say that civil unions can be between literally any two consenting adults and does not necessitate a sexual relationship. If I am taking care of a family member who cannot work, they live with me and rely on me, and this will not change for the foreseeable future, they should be able to take advantage of the benefits of being in a civil union. Why should two siblings not in a sexual relationship not be able to raise a child and get the advantages of a married couple? Say the woman was married, had a kid, and the spouse dies, and now her and her brother are the primary caretakers. The uncle could possibly have problems even legally caring for the child. I really like this idea. At first read, I was a little what? Siblings should not be in a civil union, but then I realized what you were talking about. And that would rock. I see too many people getting screwed by stupid issues. Life is not something that can be cut and paste from one person to the next. I think that marriage laws could be replaced by incorporation laws. That would allow for the most freedom of choice and allow for terms to protect the children of such unions. Then if you want to celebrate your incorporation with a big ceremony in a church or an orgy in a hotel ballroom, that's on you. You just gave me an idea. In custody battles, the parents should be anonymous to the judge. They should be behind a screen or absent, and only referred to as Parent 1 and Parent 2. That would remove the bias of giving the children to the mother in a majority of cases. The mother has a drinking problem can be hand-waved away, but Parent 2 has a drinking problem would not be taken lightly. Sick of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. At this point, who is not aware of breast cancer? They make a shit ton of money off of it. Some organizations, Susan G. Komen, only give a fraction of the donations to actual research. It's not breast cancer awareness, it's Susan G. Komen awareness. You know it's fucked when she is suing other people for using pink. To take this one step further, stop giving breast cancer all the attention. There are so many more diseases and causes that more richly deserve the funding and attention that breast cancer steals from them. Where is the attention and awareness for all the diseases that aren't curable? For the conditions that make someone's life a living hell? For the rest of their life? I don't wish cancer of any kind on anyone, but it only has two endings: you live or you die. There isn't you suffer from the pain and symptoms for 20 years. And there's barely anything we can do to help you live a meaningful life. Give the attention and awareness to the diseases that do require people to live in a limbo state of never being really healthy, but never being really sick enough to warrant constant care. I am tattooed all over, and I think tattoo acceptance is a crock of shit. You aren't being denied jobs because of your tattoos. You are being denied jobs because you are a self-important, egotistic douchebag. Having fuck hard tattooed across your fingers doesn't help any, but your bullshit elitist attitude is what sank your boat before the interviewer even saw your fingers. Your visible markers of piss-poor decision-making skills only seal the deal that your crappy job history started. No, I wouldn't hire someone whose only job experience has been Walmart greeter and McDonald's fryer operator as a senior project manager or head systems analyst, and why the fuck should I? And yet some asshat with a full sleeve of naked girls getting fist in the asshole thinks he is being discriminated against because he is being considered for the senior positions he constantly applies for. My tattoo artist always says to people there will be a day, no matter what, that you will want to look respectable, which is true. But your crappy, spoiled brat attitude shits the bed way before someone even sees your tattoos. Edit, misspelled greeter. Idiotic mistake on my part. Edit 2, as pointed out, another misspelling. Thank you, I love this. This applies to so much more than tattoos as well. Recently with legalization of weed in CO and WA, I've heard people saying shit like, oh, those corporate Dutch bags wouldn't hire me because hidden agenda against weed, etc. Nah, dude. If you walked into the interview smelling like an herbarium, it's the same thing as showing up drunk. Would they hire you if you were messily drunk? Or talked about getting fucked up before going to work? I don't think so. Same goes for tattoos. There are definitely tasteful tattoos and all that, but like you said, having Thug for Life on your wrists isn't going to win you any fevers. It's a blatant statement to your personality. It's not that the employers have any problem with tattoos, they have a problem with what they represent. Yay, people forget there is competition for these jobs and picking employees is a bit of a crapshoot. It's often minor differences that makes these decisions. Fingers, hands, neck and face. Keep them clean and they will be employable. Infringes free expression? Absolutely. Does that free expression matter to employers? Not even remotely for most. People need to suck it up and keep some areas tattoo-free. We shouldn't be sending everyone to college. Not everyone is cut out for it. Not everyone is smart enough, and not everyone will get much out of it. We still need people to fix leaky pipes and roofs, to mow the lawn, to drive your kids to school on the bus. If you want to go to a trade school to be an auto mechanic, and that's your thing, more power to you. Do what you love and do it well. If you want to get a job out of high school instead of continuing your education, you should be able to do that without scorn or unsolicited advice encouraging you to go study somewhere you don't want to go, taking on debt you may not be able to repay. The push to send everyone to college no matter what is ridiculous. I believe everyone should have an equal opportunity to go to college, but they definitely shouldn't be failures if they can't or don't want to. Switzerland has a really interesting educational system for this. First, there are different types of high schools depending on how you're doing in school. The schools for those who are planning to go to university take 3 years longer than the other types of schools. The distinction is made when students are about 12 years old. If they turn out to be late bloomers and do really well, they can still switch to the better schools either after 3 years or any time if the teachers recommend it. If you didn't go to the advanced schools, there is a whole educational system with federally standardized and controlled apprenticeships, where you spend most of your time in a company learning a specific job but still attend school general education as well as specifics of your job. Now, even if you start an apprenticeship, you have the option to take additional courses in school, so you are allowed to attend a university after you pass. Now, the good thing about this system is that on every level, the education is better tailored to the individual level of skills. This goes both ways. It gives less intelligent and/or motivated people the option to learn a job and still have a valid education with job prospects, and it also increases the quality of all universities, as they don't have to be for everyone. Edit. Wow, I did not expect my comment to get this kind of response. I realize what I have written here is just a short summary, and it can't even begin to cover every aspect of this system. But please don't hesitate to PM me if you have any specific questions about it. We have almost the same system in the Netherlands. It's just too bad that there's a huge social stigma on your educational level here. HBO is starting to become the new baseline. I completely agree with you. A good example is my sister. She went to college for one fucking day, and dropped out. Why? It's not for me. Wonderful. She got a job at an animal hospital instead. She's now the kennel supervisor and absolutely loves her job. She treats the animals like they're children and has amazing customer service. She even gives her regulars VIP treatment and makes house calls. The rate at which a man dies at the hands of another man is the lowest it has ever been, yet people insist on saying WHAT is this world coming to whenever there's a murder. People kill other people. It sucks, but it happens. And it's nature. Even more broadly than that, all sorts of major crimes have been declining basically everywhere in the developed world for the last 20 years. What hasn't declined is media exposure of such issues, which is quite likely why polls suggest that people actually statistically are likely to believe that crime is skyrocketing. I was in no way aware of this. Thanks for the information. Violet innate marry cowweather ancient employ familiar lush market, and the media hams it up for the drama. Truth is, the state of the world is really improving, but no one buys ad space on networks that report, hey, things are kind of okay out there. Sometimes murders and deaths happen because of bad people. There is no organizational failure or organization to blame. Some people are just bad. Some kids need to be left the fuck behind. If you aren't able to meet the standards for a certain grade level, you shouldn't get to move to the next because it would hurt your feelings if not. These kids are seriously dumbing down our schools. Instead of teaching to the lowest denominator, we need to teach to the highest and actually challenge children to learn. I think maybe we should start teaching trades to younger kids. A kid that has no skill with calculus might just be the best fucking electrician or plumber you've ever seen. But he won't know that until he's already had to sit through years of feeling stupid because he doesn't understand hard mathematical or language concepts. It's such a shame how trades are practically looked down upon here in the US. There were a ton of people in my engineering class who would have made much better tradesmen than engineers. Unfortunately, we have this stigma that everyone needs a 4-year degree, which I will never understand. This will last a generation tops. Then when there are no skilled tradesmen around, they'll become the most valuable players in our economy. Oh, you need your house built? The backlog for this awesome contractor is 5 years because he's one of 15 in the entire city. Yeah. Your STEM degree was a great investment. You can't get a job in the saturated tech market, while I can charge whatever I want to build houses. Oh, and all those illegal immigrants who worked for me 20 years ago. Yeah, now their legal children all own their own roofing, plumbing, electrical businesses, and they can charge whatever the fuck they want to. How are those loan payments going? A friend of mine in school did something similar to this. He wasn't doing well in any class and as a result was generally messing about, not giving a shit at school. At 14 in the UK, school is mandatory until 16. He started attending college for an apprenticeship in building and has worked his way up with no GCSEs. I've met high school graduates who can barely read or do simple math properly. Graduating them wasn't doing them a favor. They're still functional illiterates. They'd have been far better off staying back and being made to learn the shit. And when people like this have diplomas, it makes everyone else's diploma have less value. It's also better if kids who hate school and aren't learning are allowed to drop out. When they're still there, all they are doing is fucking up the chance for the kids who actually are ready to learn, to be able to learn by slowing down lessons, being disruptive and poisoning the learning atmosphere with their apathy. Putting a child up for adoption is the best thing a family who can't support it can do. A lot of people think that people do this just because they can't take the responsibility. Sometimes this is true, but most time, this is complete BS. I recently commented how cool adoption was for all parties, biological adopters, and adoptee around an adopted girl, and I got weird looks, like I was bashing her or something. Apparently you aren't allowed to even be supportive of adoption. I think it really depends. We talk about adoption as if it is all the same thing, when it's really not. There are the white unborn babies and infants that are desirable and parents fight over. That situation seems mostly like a win-win-win for a parties. However, then there are the older kids, often minorities who often come from very troubled home lives and are very disturbed. Then they get additionally shit on by bouncing around foster care with no consistent environment to grow and often abusive situations. Foster parents will take them for a test drive and then reject them when they're too difficult. This side of adoption and foster care is very sad and messy. And perhaps that's why the girl was offended or thought you misinformed. I was in foster care for about 5 years. 2 separate homes, 2 sets of foster parents. The first one lasted for 10 months, which was honestly a miracle. I had just come from living with my emotionally abusive sperm donor of a father for a year and a half. Compared to life with him, these people were a piece of cake to get along with. but I got comfortable after a while, and soon the little things that didn't matter at first started getting to me, and they booted me out the first sign that I wasn't easy to care for anymore. Then I went into my second home, my saving grace, if you will. The people I went to live with are easily the most amazing people I have ever met. In the 15 years that they have been foster parents, they have had over 450 individual kids pass through their doors, 99 of which were teenagers, mind you. These are the type of people that wouldn't give up on the kids that lived there no matter what they did. Their vehicles have been crashed multiple times, even rolled over, stolen, had buildings on the farm burned down, dealt with runaways, overdoses, and even psychotic meltdowns. My foster dad is currently writing a book about a lot of the more notable experiences. Hell, I messed up more than I care to admit, even accidentally running over the family dog. But even through all that, they never gave up on me. They continually taught me how to be a better person and live my life the right way. They single-handedly repaired most of the damage that I came to them with as a result of my dysfunctional and abusive upbringing. And it's because of them that I am the first one in my biological family to graduate from college and have a successful career. To this day, even though I've been out of the system for over 3 years, I still call them my mum and dad, and I'm considered one of the family. I had a lot of foster brothers and sisters, many of which came from terrible homes like you described. I realize my parents are 1 in a million in that industry, but I think they need stricter regulations when it comes to foster parents. Some of them are just awful. TLDR, not all foster parents are bad. Edit, my highest rated comment so far. Thanks guys. I believe that nuclear power is the answer to the world's growing energy concerns. This makes me sad because it shouldn't be controversial at all. As long as you're not morally committing wrongdoings, there's no reason to dehumanize prostitution. It's still work, and it's just a service, not much different than a salon lady giving a pedicure or masseuse as in someone who gives massages. Not a hooker, same thing, doing work in services giving personal pleasure. I think George Carlin put it well, why should it be illegal to sell something that's perfectly legal to give away? It's legal where I live, Australia, and regulated, with employees afforded minimum working conditions by law. I don't understand why it should be any other way. As someone said, it's the oldest profession for a reason. Assisted suicide should be legal in all 50 states. It seems that the people against it are not in the same positions as the ones wanting to die with dignity. Laws should have an expiration date of, I don't know, 10 years and then brought back up to see if it is still relevant. I want to buy Cuban cigars, damn it. Climbing Mount Everest isn't a real accomplishment anymore. Sherpas do most of the work. Climbing it without Sherpas using no oxygen is an accomplishment and an astounding one. You have these rich people that shouldn't step foot on the mountain just fucking getting piggybacked, and the worst part is they put their lives at danger because they aren't physically ready for it or they little to no climbing experience. I've gotten into plenty of arguments over this and found no one that agrees with me, so I think foreign aid to starving African nations is a waste of time. Africa has everything it needs to be a self-sufficient, contributing region of the world, but is unable to do so because of the savage and conflicting natures of the parties in power there. I wholeheartedly believe that the Western world should withdraw aid, because until Africa can learn to stand on its own, it will never have a real place on the global stage. This, of course, excludes aid for natural disasters. I'm not a monster. Not just that. There is a mountain of evidence that the aid we do provide is stolen or otherwise procured by warlords or corrupt governments, and they use it to lord over the people. Money, food, whatever. It is actively hurting people. Someone who makes $20,000 a year shouldn't be allowed to have 5 children. I mean, I think a lot of people would agree that poor people should not have a litter. But what could possibly be done about it that is not a gross human rights violation? I also think that people get serially pregnant because they're uneducated and really have nothing much going on in their life. Find a way to bring a lot of people out of poverty and you'll see the birth rate among this group go down. Most people on Reddit who comment about the economy don't know what the hell they are talking about, and probably buy into something they saw or heard in the media, or worse, on Reddit itself. The hive mind can be really fucking dumb about economics and as government policy. One of my favorite articles from The Onion is about that. Man who understands 8 of Obamacare vigorously defends it from man who understands 5. To be fair, very few people really know what they're talking about when it comes to the economy. I'll bring that number down to no one. People understand very specific pieces of economics, but no one understands the entire economy. To do so would require much more knowledge of human decision-making. Among other things, not all cultures are equal. Certain behaviors should not be tolerated because it is their culture. If your culture treats one gender as a second-class citizen, condones rape of married women who refuse sex with their husbands, stones women to death for infidelity, treats homosexuality as a crime or illness, etc., then you do not deserve equal treatment. You are scum. Your behavior and your culture is immoral and disgusting. You do not get a free pass on tolerance and acceptance. Because you are not my equal. I'm not going to blow you up or shoot you though. Yes, I can't stand the extreme versions of moral relativism. What? So respecting someone's culture is more important than respecting someone's life? Every person who dies becomes an organ donor. You don't have rights once you are dead. That should be the default option. I.e., if you didn't explicitly say that you don't want to be an organ donor, then you become one. Now it is the opposite. The default option is no donor. But beware, if you become a no donor, don't expect to be first in the list in case you need an organ. Opt out for donor organs makes so much sense. Who cares anyway? Cut me up when I'm dead. If you find one inside me that does a decent job, give it to someone who needs it. I'll just be feeding worms with it anyway. Karma shouldn't exist on Reddit. As in, we should still be able to vote on individual posts and comments, but the amount of upvotes that a user has should not be attached to their username. Without karma, there would be no karma whores or people posting crappy content and comments just for as many upvotes as possible. We could actually have controversial debates because people wouldn't be afraid of lowering their scores. It would become like 4chan. Instead of karma whoring, people will be attention whoring, trying to grab your attention with controversial titles or trolling comments. But Reddit doesn't really want that. Reposts and shitty jokes in the comments are what get the new people. The masses come to Reddit, throw those, and most likely don't really even dig deeper into the comments. Not to even mention the ad money from reposts. Imagine a Reddit that mostly consisted of original content. It would be pretty small in comparison to what we're used to today in terms of number of posts. TL, dear Reddit doesn't want to stop the karma whores. Exactly right. You are voting on the content, not the user. Removing the karma system would take away that incentive, leaving only the desire to share on the grounds of finding something funny or interesting, which is what we all want. Reddit's greatest asset is anonymity, which allows people to be truly honest. Sure, you will always have trolls, but on the whole, people are decent. Karma basically adds value to a username, and that essentially wears away the anonymity. As you say, when you've got good karma, you are reluctant to post a comment you know will be a bit unpopular for fear of damaging your score. Some of the most interesting stuff comes from throwaways. I'm a dude with ginger hair. If I ever post about it or post a PIC of myself, the comments are always the same stupid shit about no soul or how we should be exterminated. I don't know why that's considered more acceptable than making the same jokes about black people or Asians, but it apparently is. So my opinion is that it shouldn't be. Edit, to clarify the controversial opinion, is that it should be treated the same as racism, not that it is bad. I'm also a ginger, and even my good friends in college would joke loudly about me having a freckled dick around women I was interested in. I wouldn't sit around and talk about how ugly, fat, or insert race, religion, etc. Here they were, but they can talk shit. I'm going to keep using the word retarded to describe things that are retarded. You don't call retarded people retards. It's bad taste. You call your friends retards when they're acting retarded. The funny thing is, as keep changing nomenclature to adjust to more and more PC terminology, the new PC just morphs into pejorative slang. Hell, retarded used to be the nice, clinical word. Now we have terms like MR and LD, sticking with acronyms to keep it safe. But my wife, a teacher, sometimes hears kids calling people emas, Mr., and thus language keeps evolving. I believe that some people are simply not meant to be great, or even successful. Not that those who aren't are wasting their potential, but they simply don't have what it takes, either the intelligence, the charisma, or the willpower. Some people are simply meant to be working the checkout line, and that's okay. That's pretty controversial in a society that believes everyone can do anything they set their mind to. I agree, especially with the most important point you struck on, and that's okay. So many people treat people that wait tables or work retail like shit when they are good jobs. I get really annoyed when somebody says I'm wasting my talent or something equally irksome. I'm happy with my job, and I love my life. Why do I need to perform for your standards of what you expect from me? It's my life, and fuck you and your shitty opinion of it. The older I get, the more I have seen absolute idiots become successful, armed with an unyielding definition of purpose. Hard-determined work will outperform intelligence and skill set in the long haul. Most of us are lazy, wasting time on Reddit instead of actively pursuing what we truly want. Nobody is meant to do anything. That said, there is nothing wrong with working a shitty job to make ends meet if you aren't particularly good at anything else. If you can get out of it, great for you. If not, that sucks. But there is nothing wrong with that. I don't think everyone believes everyone can do anything they set their mind to, but certainly having a good mindset helps. I think is an American mentality. Everyone will succeed if they try. The truth is, only a few will succeed. There are a bunch of factors to take into account. The probability of a child who lives in poverty and attends a school that underperformed will grow up to be an astronaut is highly unlikely. I think the reason why America has that mentality, because this is a country known to be the land of opportunity. My grandpa always said, we can't all be doctors and lawyers, somebody has to wash to the dishes, cut the grass and take out the trash. I don't view the extremely handicapped to be people. I went to high school with a kid who couldn't do anything for himself, including breath. He just laid in his chair, staring off into space. He was not capable of moving other than occasionally twitching and making the scariest shrieking noise you have ever heard. And he did not respond to people trying to interact with him. He required 247 care and never has any chance of living a normal life since he relies 100 on others to do everything for him, including breath. To me, that is not a person. That is just something that happens to have a heartbeat. Edit. People keep bringing up Stephen Hawking. He suffers from ALS, which is a progressive disorder. I mean people who have been in a vegetative or almost vegetative state since birth. Edit 2. People keep asking why a person like the one I described would be in school. According to the Individuals with Disability Education Act idea, all disabled students have the right to a public education and cannot be rejected due to their disability. The courts have ruled that even if the student is completely incapable of benefiting from educational services and all efforts are futile, even if the child is unconscious or in a coma, the school is still required to provide educational services to the child. In cases like this, the school is acting less as an educator and more as a sitter during school hours. I work with severely disabled individuals, and I have to say, though I don't agree with them not being human, that these people were not meant to survive. They have families who care about them, but their lives become dedicated to keeping a probably miserable lump alive. It's a huge waste of resources, though it does keep me employed. I've grown to care about every single person I've taken care of, but there is no quality of life there. There's nothing. I agree. There's a family at my parents' church that have a little boy that was born without most of his brain. He can't do anything at all. His mum just carries him around everywhere. He can't move. His eyes are barely opened and he's like 4 or 5 years old. I feel like they have kept him alive for their sake, obviously. It's not doing him any good. And let's say he outlives his parents, accidents happen. Who is going to take care of him? I just feel so bad for everyone in that situation. We have a unit at my high school where all of the handicapped children are looked after during school time. There are 2 or 3 of them who are similar to the kid at your school, just sitting there and screaming. I believe it's inhumane to keep these children alive, as they have absolutely no quality of life and will never be able to function as normal human beings. I'm with you on this. My wife is as well. Though my wife represents the scary end of this spectrum of thinking. She basically thinks they should be culled. The problem is, where do you draw the line on who falls below some grey line to be worthy of culling? I mean, seriously, that's some quasi-Hitler shit there. I tell her there's no good, objective way to make that decision. She jokes that she should be the one to decide, but honestly she understands that it can't really be decided by anyone. She's a teacher and has seen a lot of these kids who are almost pure vegetable. It's sad when they are part of a large, poor family. All of the family's resources go to someone who can barely be considered conscious while the other siblings suffer. The family suffers financially. Other children at school suffer due to the resources poured into teaching that kid all day, every day. I'm a big believer in life quality and with it, euthanasia, both for older people who know it's time, chronic illness sufferers, and for those who know they should put an end to the barely alive vegetable children they have. But because we, as a culture, value life above quality of life, even if it were an option, most parents wouldn't. I sort of agree, except I wouldn't say not people. I would say not living. I mean, if I couldn't move or breathe for myself and I was aware, I would much rather die. Like WTF? Obviously, I haven't been in that situation, but I can't imagine those people are enjoying it. On this topic, I don't think schools should have to pay for students like this to attend school. They aren't learning anything, nor will an education help them in the future. Yet schools have to pay for transportation, aides, nurses, etc. That money could be better spent educating the children who will be productive members of society. I generally support polygamy. The way I see it is, there are so many men that have children by multiple women and don't support them. What's so wrong with a man who wants to support multiple families? If they're all in the situation voluntarily, what business is it of mine? Obviously, this excludes child brides, brides who are forced sold into marriage, etc. I agree if women can have multiple partners as well. I hate the mainstream idea that polygamy has to include forced marriages and child brides. How is legalizing polygamy going to make those things worse? If they're already happening now, I read that one of the overlooked problems with polygamy is the overwhelming money some men have. Almost all of the super rich people are men, even most of the millionaires are men. A woman wanting a good provider to start a family is going to look more favorably on a rich man. If there is polygamy, then you would wind up with number of wives becoming a new status symbol of being rich. Imagine your standard rap video, but instead of showing off their cars or bling, they talk about, man, I go so much money, I got me 5 wives. People with Bill Gates level wealth could support dozens, if not hundreds of wives. At that point, we're seeing the equivalent of sultans with their harems. We won't soon run into issues where there aren't enough women to go around for the poor and middle-class men. Right now, the US has about a 5,050 split. But if even 10 of the men in the US take a second wife, that means millions of men in the US won't be able to get married even if they're not a neckbeard. Most people are too stupid for democracy. This is a pretty Reddity opinion, but not you, right? I think abortion is ethically wrong, but I still support it because I hate children. Now this is controversial. I am a vegetarian, not because I love animals, but because I hate plants. Children make everything sticky. Children can be little shits sometimes. They haven't developed morals yet. They have no empathy, no reasoning. They're basically monsters. I believe that being a stay-at-home mom to one child is definitely not the job most women make it out to be, especially if your husband has to come home and cook and clean and do the grocery shopping. As a stay-at-home mom of currently one child, I agree. I think I have it easy right now. I always tell my husband that even on rough days with my son, at least I can be in my pajamas. I rage a little bit when I hear women talking about how men who work full-time careers to pay for everything should do half of the housework when they are married to a stay-at-home mum. Just no. I thought the traditional stay-at-home mum thing included the cooking, cleaning, shink part. If raising the kid includes the housework stuff, that is a pretty full plate of stuff to do. Edit. Apparently I have heavily misjudged the effort it takes to have a kid around and also have the housework to do. I don't have kids, so I guess I was inflating it in my head. I also wasn't trying to say it was super difficult, just busy. The advances of modern medicine are introducing too many bad genes into the human genetic pool and exposing the human race to a weakened genetic makeup. Copied from a response below to clarify. Everyone seems to be looking at this the wrong way. This is not about resistant bacteria or antibiotic abuse. It is about diseases like asthma, type 1 diabetes, Treacher-Collins syndrome, and various others that are spread via genes. I speak with knowledge on this subject because I am asthmatic, my wife is type 1, and I have a cousin with Treacher-Collins, and I have seen my cousin's children come out far more deformed than himself. I see diabetes type 1 spreading through my wife's family with nearly every offspring. Because of these issues, we have decided to not have children, but any offspring created from people like this live with a severely diminished quality of life. People with these diseases survive thanks to modern medicine, but in doing so, create offspring with these traits either existing or recessive in their offspring. Interestingly enough, evolutionary pathology is a bit of a hobby of mine. It's thought that diabetes, especially type 1, is a reaction to the Ice Age. Most people with type 1 diabetes have Scandinavian ancestry, and strangely enough, are diagnosed in the winter more often than not. The way it's thought to work is people in the upper and more frosty regions of the planet were walking around and hunting rather than gathering, making the absorption of glucose a low priority. What glucose was absorbed would usually be brought into the cell by insulin. But this isn't so for diabetics. The sugar would stay in the bloodstream, lowering the freezing temperature of the blood and acting as a virtual antifreeze. This would give diabetics an advantage in escaping frostbite. Can't reproduce if your dick freezes off, right? Another disease called hemochromatosis evolved in Western Europe around the time of the Black Plague. What it does is it takes iron from your blood and stores it in your joints. People typically rust to death around the age of 40 if it goes untreated. But while they're in their prime, storing iron in the joints starves bacteria, such as the ones that caused the Black Death. Curiously, there is only 2 known treatments for it, bloodletting or leeches. That's right. Europe's go-to-wonder treatment actually worked in one particular instance. Removing blood from the body lowers the overall iron levels in the bloodstream, which sends signals to your body to release iron from your joints. If done regularly, these people could live full and healthy lives. So I see exactly where you're coming from. There aren't many situations I can think of where people with Down syndrome or severe disfiguration or cystic fibrosis would have the upper hand, but just because I haven't thought of it doesn't mean that a situation doesn't exist. In short, evolution is a surprising MacGyver-like genius, piecing parts together to serve the short purpose of staying alive long enough to procreate and not caring about the side effects. But it is super cool what it can come up with, and why. And makes me feel like people with those diseases can hold their heads a bit higher, knowing they were the next step in evolution. At one point, for whatever particular reason, evolution felt like that day. Edit, yes, I know about sickle cell anemia, but I assumed nearly everyone did, so I didn't put it in the post. You need to be heterozygous for sickle cell anemia to be harmless and effective against malaria, not have a lesser version of the disease. It's definitely genetic, not bacterial or viral. And yes, Survival of the Sickest, my favorite book. Glad a lot of you have read it. And if you haven't and felt mind blown by my post, you definitely should.